So that virtual world of dreaming is this crazy place that we find ourselves in. And we're not far from the schizophrenic when you think about it.
No.
That schizophrenic who is living in a dream state, walking in a dream state. Now, all of us who are supposedly normal, who are not schizophrenic, we have our own versions of the very same thing.
Yes.
And this, I see a look on your face, or this happens, and all of a sudden a new chapter to my story about you is being written spontaneously, and I'm getting carried along with that story.
Or a look on your face. You know, if you look on someone's face, if their face looks particularly serious, you can think, oh, well, he must be angry because I said this. When in reality, you're thinking about something that went wrong with your car.
Right.
You're not even aware, so the
Oh, yeah. Or in a workplace, my boss is this and that, and I went in to ask her for a day off, and she said, no, you can't have the day off, and then all of a sudden my mind is going, and I'm back at my desk working, but it's just going like this, and all the dissonance is being created inside of me, and all of this stuff, and that's my world.
Yes.
And
you think you're going to be fired. You think you can even go to the point where you think your boss is going to fire you.
Right.
And actually, she's just thinking about another project that's on her mind that, she's not even thinking about you. She just says, this is not a good time. But we go into imagination so easily. That dream, that schizophrenic dream, we go into that so easily around relationship in particular.
Well, you look at that movie, the Sean Penn's movie about the life of the career of Harvey Milk, and how Dan White in that movie was going through all his imaginations, and then all of a sudden brings his gun to work and starts blasting away. And it's just amazing to see how the dream plays itself out.
Mm-hmm.
And you will never know the reality of the perpetrators of Columbine, or the reality of whoever, who has gone off the deep end and has perpetrated unimaginable acts, the reality that they were coming from, that they were experiencing. How far away that is from the simplicity of this moment. How in opposition that is to self. What a split there is. An antagonistic relationship with yourself and who you are. Such a identification with something that is not me and not what I really want, but somehow I think this will fulfill me if I just blow these people away because of what they did to me.
Yeah.
I mean, the reasoning, there is no reasoning there. So we take an unreasonable person who does an unreasonable, unimaginable act like that, and we say that person is crazy. Of course, they interview all the people that knew this person. They say, well, he was always such a nice guy. Yeah, I never really caused anybody his problem. I don't know what would cause him to do that. I say, well, that's all of us, We're just all a bunch of nice guys, and but we live in this place, this crazy dream state. And it's not who we are, and it's not our life. Our life is this. Our home is here. What is it that causes somebody to be a heroin addict? It's that desire for a home. A desire for that place where everything is as it should be. Where everything is wonderful. I crave that so much because my life is so not that I'm going to shoot up so that it can once again temporarily feel like that. When the reality is that it's right here.
Well, there's such a strong habit of thinking. It's just an addiction. We're addicted to thought. We're addicted to storytelling, internal storytelling. We're addicted to the amusement of it, of having something going on in our head all the time. We're so addicted to it. To break that addiction is very, very difficult. And like I've said over and over and over again, there's got to be a lot of suffering and pain around it in order to want to wake up from it. And there also has to be a realization that there's a possibility that I can wake up from it. And to want to to listen and learn as to where is it possible, how is it possible to listen to those who maybe have found a door out of the prison that we've created for ourselves. Because living in thought day in and day out, living in our storytelling is a prison. And it's one we've created ourselves. And well, our society certainly did contribute to it, you know, our parenting and our peer group and, you know, all the teachings and the conditioning, the programming from birth practically has contributed to this whole thing. But at the same time, once we see the problem at hand and we see that there's a way out, and you know, listening to things like this, maybe if there's a little grain of some truth that you glean from this, fantastic. I mean, all that we've learned, all that we're talking about, we've listened to various teachers and we've come to realize there is a mistake. There is a real mistake here. You know?
Yeah.
A
Well,
mistake.
generations of it, you know, just,
Yeah.
you look at the genetic inheritance of animals and species of animals and how they learn to do what they do generationally before they're born. How is it that I was watching these birds last year that they built a nest down below our deck, and we'd go down there and we'd see these little birds as, well, first the eggs, and then finally they hatched, and they're just these big open gaping mouths, and you know, and then they were growing and growing, and then one day I walked down there and I looked, and they were crowding each other out of the nest. They were so darn big in there, and I'm thinking, when are they going to fly? And how are they going to learn to fly? Because there's cement down below them, and they're you know, way up here on this post. And as I was thinking about this, all of a sudden, one of them just flew out of the nest. And he flew over into the tree, and now he's perched in the tree. And then another one, and there were 5 of them. And not one of them fell. They all just flew for the first time. And how did they know that they were ready to do that? Because obviously from the time they were born, when you first saw them, they didn't have any feathers, they couldn't have done it. How did they know that they were ready to do it? And how did they know how to do their wings and how to fly? And then where did they go after that? Because they never came back to the nest again. They were just birds out there in the world. How did they figure this thing out? Well, they didn't figure it out intellectually. They weren't sitting there from the time they were born saying, okay, we're going to have to get out of this nest, we're going to have to fly, okay, how are we going to do this? Let's put our minds together, let's try to put a plan together. And no, instead of that, there was some instinctual thing, there was some knowing, there was some, all the way down to how to move their wings and how to navigate and all of that at a certain time, at the right time, the knowing and the ability to do that. Somehow it was there. How? It was all genetically encoded. And when they were born, that was inherently there.
Yeah.
When they were born, that was part of their heritage. So now we human beings are born, and what do we get as a heritage? Well, we get a lot of good stuff. But we get whole ways of thinking. Whole ways of identifying, and it's reinforced by our parents, and it's reinforced by all society and so forth, and we just keep building and building and building more genetic content for the next generation. And what we're doing in this process of rewiring our brains and reprogramming ourselves is somehow in the whole process reversing some of that, and maybe taking some next step and in creating some ability to be here in the simplicity of this moment, in the place that is now, in the place that is more me than anything I've ever thought was me or any concept, in this place where I can just be home. But not so that I can watch Oprah and eat and do nothing, but so that whatever it is that I choose to do, chop wood, carry water, work assembly line, whatever it is, that I can be home in the process and therein find some sense of purpose.